Notre Dame obviously took things away. To Steve's point as well, JSN hobbling, hurting, out of the game. That happened very early. Even when he was in the game after that, I think of the play in which he and two other receivers on the right side cleared it out for Emeka Ibuka to come across, and there was a miscommunication between the zone and him settling in the zone. But it just seemed like I just had that thought that JSN's just he's a decoy at this point. So two big factors in the passing game. Tony, we'll start with you in regards to those being the major factors, or are there any concerns coming out of this? Because I was thinking, Harrison, Ibuka, these guys, even though they haven't been the stars and getting tons of targets previously last season, there's a lot of reps between them and Stroud. They just didn't seem completely in sync.
Yeah, I think just the field awareness was different, and it had to be more exact because you didn't have Jaxon Smith-Njigba out there creating gravity of his own and drawing defense. And so there are more eyes on the other guys. And what CJ Stroud said, it's, first game, this isn't abnormal for your first game of the season to be off a little bit. And we saw that last year with CJ where he was off a little bit. And yet we're talking about they weren't on the same page, and yet he still completed 71% of his passes. And it's just some of these things that stand out. Like the one to Emeka, he really explained – CJ Stroud went into great detail and explained why that was yesterday, where he purposefully threw it behind Emeka because there was a defender there that would have picked it off. So he knew it was going to be like kind of a tough catch, but he put it in the only place that the receiver could catch it. And if Emeka would have slowed down, he said he was trying to slow him down by throwing the ball a little off, and it didn't. It's just things like that he doesn't know yet. He doesn't understand yet the Emeka, whereas, that's something that Jaxon just naturally, and Garrett Wilson, these are things that they can naturally do. And with Emeka not necessarily expecting to play that role as much that day, he was probably expecting to play more outside as well. And it just changed just a little bit of a lot of things. And with these timing, I mean, you saw some of the passes that CJ Stroud was completing when he's scrambling, like just missing fingertips of defenders on his touchdown pass. I thought for sure that was going to be a pick six by at least one person, possibly two. And it's just missing outstretched fingers of the defense by, inches, and the amount of precision that was going on. And so it doesn't take much to be off, especially when, these guys are still relatively new. I think we all expected them to be better, but I do think this was one of those things that the receivers will take into account, and they'll be at the jugs machine, and I would expect obviously they'll be much better this week, but it doesn't mean anything. They need to be better by Wisconsin, and they should be. That'll be game 4 for them this year.
Yeah, I mean, what if Marvin Harrison gets off to a little bit of a better start? I mean, he had the touchdown that it looked like he had hauled in, and he couldn't get all the way to the ground with it. There were a couple of other drops. I mean, he did end up heating up as the game went on and was much cleaner. There are a lot of little things in there that, let's not forget, CJ Stroud was still 70% throwing the ball for all of the issues that were there earlier, and only having 2 receptions for 3 yards or whatever it was with Jaxon. It was not a bad outing. We're not that far removed for whatever the numbers, 220 some yards of passing, 70% completion clip, and a couple of touchdowns. That would have been a historic day a generation ago in terms of Ohio State passing. We're just in a new era right now. But the good news is that what we saw in terms of the defense, not to bring us back in time, but what we saw in the defense is what we were used to seeing when Ohio State passing might, a good day may have been 180 yards, passing touchdown, no interceptions, and 63%. But they would eat by running the ball. So there's a lot of stuff that they still need to work on. Not having 2 of your top 4 receivers, Julian Fleming being a game time decision, who it sounded like was close to being able to play, but there was precip in the air. It's a new rug. Do you want to sit there and put him in a position to where You could lose him for a greater period of time. Probably not. I think that, yeah, the obvious improvements do need to be made, but I'm fully confident that as time goes on, this passing game will get back to what people are used to.
Yeah, I don't have any issues or doubts about that. I think Stroud is still magnificent, and I think they're breaking in the wide receivers. Emeka Buka, 9 catches for 90 yards and a touchdown. He was fabulous. You had Marvin Harrison Jr., kind of a quiet 5-catch day. I made one of my favorite comments in the third quarter is Marvin Harrison Jr. even playing in this game, but he did a little bit here and there. Cade Stover was welcome in the tight ends receiving department. He had several catches as well, so it's going to be okay. Julian Fleming didn't play, Cameron Babb didn't play, and Smith-Njigba hardly played. Get him back to full strength. Xavier Johnson, the walk-on, stepped in, caught a big touchdown pass, had another reception that set up that touchdown, and then ran down on the kickoff and made a tackle. So he had the night of his life, no doubt. And that shows you that the best players are going to play. And it doesn't matter if you're a former walk-on or a 5-star player. If you can help us, you're going to be on the field. So to me, I'm not too concerned about it.
Is this okay if I mention the fact that Bryce Young was 18 of 28 passing against Alabama and, only completed 60-some% of his passes and had to run the ball for like 100 yards instead of throwing the ball? Is it okay if we mention that? 18 of 28 passing for 195 yards. Yeah, he threw 5 touchdowns. One of those, I think, was in the third quarter to make it 48-0. So
you can only mention the 5 touchdown passes.
Oh.
Do not mention the completion percentage. It's not applicable. No, it doesn't matter.
You're right. That's true.
When he hits on 21 of 25 next week, you can mention that.
Perfect.